In this episode of the Orange Nerd Show, we're talking all about the Deadpool and Wolverine marketing. It's been freaking everywhere. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about this move where Wicked is now moving its release date away from Moana 2. What does that mean? We're going to talk about it up next on OG55, but more specifically, the Orange Nerd Show. Welcome aboard, everybody, to OG55.
Young blood, but I'm built like an OG.
And George, welcome back, sir. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's been a while. It's been a long time.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like we just filmed a music video reaction or something with Seymour. I don't know. It seems like just yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, or just a few hours ago.
Yeah.
But if you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There we go. All right, let's dive right in. First topic on the books is again from Mr. Scott Gustin. Come on, we always got to represent Scott here. Interesting move. Wicked will hit theaters 5 days earlier than planned, now releasing on November 22nd to avoid landing in theaters the same day as Moana 2 on November 27th. This is very, very interesting. Okay, look, people can spin this any way they want. Universal is worried about Moana 2. 100%. They want to get away. They want to separate themselves at least a little bit, give them a little more runway without Moana in the picture. Moana is we've been talking about it, George. Moana is a massive franchise. It's huge on Disney Plus. The movie's huge. This thing is going to be a beast, an absolute beast. Universal saw the writing on the wall. They blinked. They absolutely blinked, and they're like, you know what? We're not going to do it. We're gonna push it 5 days earlier. But what are your thoughts on this, brother?
Yeah, there was two scenarios when looking at this this news today that, you know, people could have the argument of saying that, Wicked moved for Moana 2, so to kind of give Moana 2, an equal fair share chance of Wicked, and not saying that Wicked is not going to do well. I have a feeling it's going to do well, but I don't think it's going to pull in the numbers Moana 2 is. And you're absolutely right. They moved because once they found out that they were being released the same day, I'm sorry, for young girls and people who have young kids, I'm sorry. If you're going to go to a movie theater, you're going to go to see Moana 2, not Wicked.
Right, exactly. And Universal, they're not really known to do Disney a solid. We'll move our movie for you, so to help you out, Mouse House. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So that I don't believe that for a second. And you're absolutely right. Moana is a massive franchise, and I think Universal is looking at these Inside Out 2 numbers. This movie is bonkers successful. Okay, and we're probably going to hit 1.5, 1.6, maybe even $1 billion worldwide for Inside Out 2. Universal's looking at that going, you know what? Moana 2 could be even bigger because Moana is a bigger franchise than Inside Out 2, Moana is a bigger franchise going into part 2 than Inside Out was going into their part 2 is what I'm trying to say here. So Universal's worried and they moved, and that's fine. It's a business decision. I understand it. If I had a movie coming out the same day or whatever as Moana 2, I'd freaking move it too. I'm not going to have it go up against this. This is going to be a monster, Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see, man. But any other thoughts before we move on to our next story?
Yeah, I just think, I think it was a smart move on Universal for sure. And just recently, Inside Out 2 crossed that $1 billion threshold. It's the first $1 billion movie of 2024, but definitely not the last. I think Moana 2 is definitely in that going to be in that group, as well as which we're going to talk about it in a few seconds, is Deadpool and Wolverine. That's definitely going to be in for the books for sure. Yeah,
because you have, so this year you have right now Inside Out 2, which is already a huge hit. You got this Moana 2, which, unless it's like a total stinker of a movie, which is possible, I guess, but it's going to do very well, I think. And even if it is a stinker of a movie, does that even really matter? Look how good the Despicable Me movies do. Like, I don't know. Sometimes if people just like a franchise, they'll go to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
now
who knows?
Despicable Me 4 is they're projecting 100 million to 125 million opening weekend. Could you potentially see that crossing $1 billion, being that Despicable Me 3 did? Could that give Inside Out 2 a run for their money? Now, when I say that is not because I enjoy Despicable Me. I think, honestly, I think that the franchise is obnoxious, but
yeah,
I prefer Inside Out over that. And I'm not just being Disney biased here. It's just I enjoy Inside Out better than Despicable Me, but just because of, as you had mentioned, that just the demographic today, you know, when you see, another Despicable Me movie with the Minions and everything, could that give Inside Out a run for their money just based off of that?
Well, and when you say run for their money, you mean do as well as Inside Out 2 overall?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's gonna be tough because here's why. Despicable Me 4 is coming out 3 weeks into the run of Inside Out 2, right? That will pull maybe not a significant amount, but will pull some of the numbers away from Despicable Me 4. The opening weekend or two even of Despicable Me 4. I don't see it doing what Inside Out is doing. Now, it's Minions, so I think it'll do well. I think it'll be successful, okay? But I just
do you think it'll have longer legs? Or do you think it would have shorter legs?
It's tough. I don't know how. I mean, I haven't heard great reviews about Despicable Me 4. I mean, it's kind of like I've heard stuff like it's a mess, but the kids will love it, you know? So it kind of all depends. But if I were to bet money on it, if I were to guess, right, like, okay, which movie is going to ultimately come out on top? I'm gonna go with Inside Out 2. I think that movie, because I think it will very likely be a better movie overall. And I think honestly, Inside Out 2 is more of a 4-quadrant film than Minions. Minions is for kids. Just it's for kids. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Inside Out 2, the parents get something out of it as well, I think. So I think with Despicable Me, it'll do very well. It will probably either hit $1 billion or get very close to $1 billion. I do believe that. Beating Inside Out 2, though, because Inside Out 2, you're looking at like 1.5. I don't know if Despicable Me 4 can do that. I could be wrong. This is just my opinion, but I think Inside Out 2 will come out on top.
Now, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it would hit like 1.5, 1.6. Do you think it'll cross just the $1 billion?
I think there's a very good chance it will. Yeah, I think this is I don't think we should underestimate the Minions because they are very popular. They're not our thing at all. I mean, but I think that the kiddos love it. You know, the kiddos absolutely love Minions. So I think $1 billion. The last one made $1 billion, didn't it? I think.
Despicable Me 3 did. Yes.
Yeah. Good chance it does. But will it beat Inside Out 2? I don't know, because I mean, Inside Out 2 was the fastest to $1 billion for an animated film ever. Like, that's big, man. That's significant. And then I don't know if Despicable Me can pull that. You know, I really don't. And also, like I said, Despicable Me is still dealing with Inside Out 2 the first weekend or two at least, because Inside Out 2 is still pulling decent numbers right now. So that's going to cut into Despicable Me at least a little bit the first couple of weekends. So yeah, no, I think Inside Out 2 will definitely beat out Despicable Me 4. But here's the thing. I will say this. At the end of the day, I think both of these franchises will be successful. Obviously, Inside Out 2 already is. And I think Despicable Me ultimately will do very well. And it's good for animation. I'm a huge animation person. It's good to see animation off to a really, really strong start, you know? Now, I do want to say one more thing, George, before I bring it to you. We also have to remember these are estimates for Despicable Me 4. These are not actual totals yet. Correct. So it could do better than the 100 to 125 million opening weekend, and it could do worse. Yeah. We just don't know. And that's what I'm saying. With Inside Out 2, it is a little bit of a wild card because we don't know how much that's going to pull from it, because that movie is still doing very, very well.
So yeah, people were kind of wondering like the anticipation of like what the opening weekend was going to be for Inside Out 2. Like what the numbers were going to project to. And it started off with like 100 million to 120 million, 130. And then it was like, oh my gosh, like it just kept on going up until it became this phenomenal weekend for Inside Out 2. So I don't think Despicable Me 4 4 is going to hit that feat. I think that's where it would kind of have like longer legs where it could cross over 1 billion, but I think it would be more in the slower movement than what these numbers are for Inside Out 2.
Yeah, because I just think, like I said before, I don't think parents are as into the Despicable Me franchise. I think they're kid movies, like just straight up kid movies, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think parents are enjoying Inside Out 2 as well. So that's definitely going to help Inside Out 2's numbers, you know? So it's gonna be very interesting. But like I said, it's gonna be a huge summer or it's already a huge summer for animation. Assuming the Despicable Me numbers hold, assuming these estimates are correct, it's gonna be a huge start of the summer for animation, and that's awesome. I'm really happy. I love animation. I've been a huge animation fan my whole life, and I'm glad to see it. You know, especially because animation I think was hit really hard after the lockdowns. When theaters came back, it was hit really, really hard because a lot of people. I think because when you have an animated film, a lot of people tend to bring their entire family. And right now it's really, really expensive to do that. And on top of that, you know, people are just more particular with what movies they see in theaters, you know, overall. So I think animation, especially animation, got hit really hard after the pandy. So I think it's really good to see Despicable Me 4 at least estimated to do really, really well. So we'll see, man.
Yeah. And before we move on to the next topic, really quick, I just wanted to clarify the animated films to only ever hit the $1 billion club at the box office is Frozen, Frozen 2, the Super Mario Brothers movie, Incredibles 2, Minions, Despicable Me 3, Toy Story 4, Toy Story 3, Finding Dory, Zootopia, and now Inside Out 2.
Wow. I'm telling you, look at Despicable Me was on there a few times, you know what I'm saying? And wow, even Zootopia though, huh?
Zootopia, yeah.
That's interesting, man.
So that tells me is Zootopia 2 going to be projected to make big numbers?
And that's the thing. And when we talk theme parks, which we do a lot on this channel, when we're talking about what's coming for D23 for the parks, you know, we speculate a lot, George, about how are we going to get Zootopia Land? Is it going to replace Hollywood Land? It's possible, dude. I mean, I didn't realize it made that much money. And they're like you said, they're doing a sequel, a part 2. Mm-hmm. Man, it's possible. It's absolutely possible. So let's move on to our next topic. Well, kind of on topic, but different topic, which is Deadpool and Wolverine, which look at the marketing. You brought this to my attention, bro. And there's so much going on here with the marketing. It is out of control. What do you think about this? We see so much, like even this Eric Weber here is saying everywhere you look in LA, and that's all you see.
Like all this was like coming up on my feed on social media where, people were already talking about it. You know, they made like little promo commercials. We've seen the teaser trailers, the actual trailer and everything. But like today, especially because with it being the beginning of July, you know, this is the month of Deadpool and Wolverine, and being that it's coming at towards the end of the month, I guess they're trying to hype this thing up, and it's everywhere. It's in LA, it's over in Tokyo. It's like, I mean, this thing is going to be massive. It's
going to be so big, dude. And this is Eric Weber again, which is actually kind of funny. This was actually in LA, and I guess they were putting up the Deadpool and Wolverine advertisement over the Inside Out 2 one. And he says here, this crossover would make $1 bazillion. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But this kind of shows you right here, this little snapshot in time right here. This is right now, at least for the first part of the summer, Disney is dominating the box office. We see it here with Inside Out. We're definitely going to see it with Deadpool and Wolverine. They're crushing it. You know, and then look, I understand it. It was really fashionable to shit on the Mouse House, you know, last year because their movies didn't do well. That's fine. This year, though, I'm telling you, Disney's going to be the comeback kid this year. They have probably $3 billion movies. I don't want to say for sure because you never really know for sure, but Inside Out 2 is a for sure. Deadpool and Wolverine is about as for sure as you could possibly get without being for sure. And I think Moana 2 as well. And those are the 3 that we know about. We don't know what Mufasa is going to do. That movie might do really well. Your son said he's excited for it. Your son's like 14 years old. He's looking forward to it. I think there's a possibility too with Mufasa because that is a story that's been untold.
And that's what he said. That's actually what my son said. He said, I'm looking forward to seeing Mufasa because he said this isn't going to be predictable. We don't know necessarily where the story is going to lead us into how Mufasa became king of Pride Rock, and took over the Pride lands. So, and I think it's interesting because they even said, Beyonce is going to reprise her role as the voice of Nala, but her daughter is going to do the voice of Kiara. So, from what I'm understanding, so it's basically around the time of where The Lion King 2 is, but they're going to tell the story, the origins of Mufasa. So I thought that was quite interesting.
It is interesting. I'm curious. I am very, very curious about this. And there's a lot of like royal family kind of element here with Lion King. And I think if they tap into that correctly, you could potentially have a franchise. It sounds weird, but you could if you tap into the whole like royal family, almost like if you kind of get into this kind of Game of Thrones energy a little bit, right? Like the fight for the crown, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I think you could definitely have something here. Will they do that? Will they be successful? That's yet to be seen. We don't know. I didn't like the live action Lion King. I didn't. I love Jon Favreau, but hey, let's be honest. Everyone has a bad day at the office, right? That was his bad day at the office, in my opinion. I love you, Favreau. I do. I am a huge fan of his. 95% of his stuff I enjoy. Chef was a great movie. The Jungle Book live action, phenomenal. He is great, dude. Lion King just fell flat for me. Yeah. It really did. But we'll see. Mufasa might be different. And is that Jon Favreau, though, Mufasa, or is that somebody else?
I believe this is somebody else.
Okay. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it does, dude. I'm pretty curious. But this is the year for Disney right now, man. I'm telling you, I don't really see anything. When does Snow White come out? Do we know? When does live action? Was that next year?
I think it's next year because they keep on changing the dates.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that one, I'm worried about that one. I got to be honest with you. Yeah. I don't know how that one's going to do.
I think, honestly, if they did push it back to 2025, that was a smart move on Disney's behalf because I think with all the movies that we're planning on coming out, that movie wouldn't stand a chance against what's coming out this summer into the winter.
Yeah, no, there's no way. There's no way.
But this is definitely the year for the studios comeback as far as putting out good films that are just, as our friend Kaylee says, are bangers.
Oh, absolutely. So I think the studio is moving in the right direction. Disney Animation, Moana 2, that'll be like Kaylee says, a banger. We got the Frozen sequels not too far out from here, so
which I've heard they're actually creating them one after the other. Like they're literally like intertwining them. Like they're not going to wait. They're just going to like run it all the way through with 3 and 4.
That's smart though. I heard that too, that they're working on both of these movies at the same time. And that's smart for the story. What was the biggest complaint about the sequel trilogy? What was the biggest complaint? What each movie felt like its own movie and there wasn't a cohesive story through line.
Yep.
The fact that they're doing both of these together tells me that they have a big story and they have a roadmap. Look, and I could be assuming things, okay? I mean, I could be wrong, but based on that information that they're working on 3 and 4 together, I think they know where the story is going to end, and it's a coherent piece. You know what I'm saying? And that gives me some encouragement because I think Frozen's a great franchise. I love the first movie especially. I thought it was really, like, not to be cheesy, but I really did think it was a magical movie. It really did remind me a lot of those Renaissance era films.
I'm telling you. I went to go see Frozen in theaters with my son and my now ex. That theater was packed, and when I say packed, every seat was filled. And they've done something that I've never seen them do before. They probably could have got in trouble, but they actually, because of for safety reasons, but they actually created standing room, and people were willing to pay to stand and watch this movie. And after the movie was over, it got a standing ovation.
I remember that too. Not that specific, circumstance, but I remember the energy around that movie when it came out in 2013, it was unlike anything I've ever seen. That was such a cultural reset.
It really was.
It was so bizarre, dude. I mean, it was huge.
You couldn't go into Walmart and try to find a Frozen piece of merchandise. There was nothing on the shelves.
No. Yeah, it was massive, dude. It was absolutely massive. So I liked Frozen 2. I didn't hate it. I don't know. I didn't love it though. I gotta be honest with you. I think actually I liked diving a little bit more into the lore. I thought that was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. The issue I had with Frozen 2, I think the songs were not really that great. I mean, I don't know. I think I liked Into the Unknown, but outside of that, I don't know. Yeah. Just for me personally, there wasn't a whole lot in there.
I think for anyone who hasn't watched it, definitely check it out. It's actually on Disney Plus. It's called, actually, believe it or not, Into the Unknown, the making of Frozen 2. It's basically a docu-series, and I believe it's in like 6 parts, sort of like how they did with the Imagineering story, where it takes you literally from the beginning of the making to the world premiere of Frozen 2. And you could even see the struggles that they had with that movie, where the story, they just couldn't cohesively get it right. And eventually they did come up with something decent, but I think that they were kind of overthinking the story a little bit too much. And I think that's where they kind of got lost into the unknown, you know?
Into the unknown. Exactly. Yeah. It was a beautiful movie, well made. The songs weren't there for me. That one song was good, but yeah, honestly, dude, I don't even really remember, outside of the Into the Unknown song, I don't even really remember a lot of the songs in that movie. Do you?
The rock song that Christoph sang about his love for Anna, I don't even know the name of it.
I forgot. That was like an 80s rock ballad.
Yeah, 80s rock ballad. Yeah.
Okay, I forgot about that.
And then Olaf sang When I'm Older, or something like that. Yeah. Calling out Samantha, you know.
Yeah,
it's like,
they're just not the same. I don't know. That was the one Achilles heel for part 2. The music wasn't great.
Yeah.
Because especially compared to that first movie. I mean, those songs were like, every song on that album or that soundtrack was awesome, you know? I don't know. We'll see, though. Part 3 and part 4, we'll see. Maybe it'll be better than the first movie. We'll see. But, George, fantastic conversation today. Any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, really quick. Going back to Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm just going to throw it out there again. I know I'm probably going to be wrong. I don't know, but I'm going to say I think Deadpool and Wolverine's could possibly be the first $1 billion domestic film in history. If it doesn't reach that milestone, I could definitely see it making between $700 or $800 million domestically, but I definitely feel like that it can cross over the 2 billion worldwide.
Yeah, and if it doesn't hit $1 billion domestic, George did promise he would shave his head, so this will be really good to watch. You know, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. He is not going to shave his head. I'm just kidding. No, but okay, I'll give you this, George. Let's say it hits 900 million domestic. I'll give it to you. I'll be like, you know what, you called it. Close enough, dude. You know what I'm saying? Close enough. You know. Because that would even be pretty crazy. Because I think Force Awakens did that. I mean,
Force Awakens hit a little over 900 million. We were close. We were so close. I thought Force Awakens was going to hit the billion.
Yeah. So I think, man, this one might do it. The only thing that's working against Deadpool and Wolverine is
the R-rated. Yeah.
And it's just because it limits your audience to some degree. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be kids that can't go to that. And
you know what? If that sacrifices a little bit of the domestic box office, I'll take it, because you can't do Deadpool as PG-13. You can't.
No, you can't. No, you can't. You have to do it right. All the fans were so worried about that too when they bought Fox. Are they going to Disney-fy Deadpool? No, they weren't. They had no intention of doing that. They know that that's the gravy train, you know, and they respected the franchise, and they're going a hard R like they were like in the first 2 movies. And I love that about it. I think that's how you should do it, you know? So yeah, no, I think look, yeah, you're going to lose a little bit of box office being that rated R, but at the same time, you had to. What are you going to do? You're going to water down the franchise? You don't do that. You can't do that, you know? So George, the Italiano, it is fantastic talking shop with you. If you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching this episode of the Orange Nerd Show. Yes, Orange Nerd Show is everything except the theme park. So we talk studio, we talk corporate. We even did a really cool music video reaction with Seymour recently about some K-pop and some Sabrina Carpenter. Those are really fun videos. We like to do those music video reactions every now and then. But you can find all that here on the Orange Nerd Show. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today. And thank you so much for watching.
세상은 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해.